Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast series, Stories of a Lifetime Timeless Tales, Endless Inspiration. This series explores the journeys and stories of older adults, painting a vivid picture of their golden years. Our goal is to bridge the gap between generations, offering motivation and inspiration to deepen our appreciation of their experiences and wisdom. I am Lirisha Tuladhar, a grad student at Miami University, and I am thrilled to present our episode this time as well. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Lucy, a remarkable 89-year-old who will share her incredible journey and discuss about her journey of music together with us. We are honored to introduce today's guest, Lucy, a spirited 89 years old with a wealth of stories, especially of music to share. So, born in New Carlisle near Ohio, she has been all over the world and she loves reading, traveling, playing cards and games, exercising, music, people, and doing cruises as well. We have more to hear about her, and her life is marked by significant achievements such as in especially the violin and music parts and other personal accomplishment, which we'll hear in this episode as well. Her passion for violin and her specific interest in music has been a source of joy and inspiration for many. So in today's episode, Lucy will take us through her fascinating life journey and discuss about the career of music as well as all her journey stories with us. So her insights and experience promise to enrich our understanding of the past and inspire our listeners across the generations. So welcome to our podcast, Lucy.
Hi, I'm Lucy Herndon.
We are so excited to have you here. How are you feeling?
Wonderful. I'm glad to be living at this age.
Okay, we are also glad you're still here at this age and sitting with us and sharing stories. So, did I miss anything in the introduction?
I've had such a busy life, I can't remember it all.
So, today we are going to discuss about your musical journey. So, could you please introduce a little bit and share about how your journey of music began?
My journey of music probably began with my mother. My mother played the piano. Found out, and I saw my grandmother play the piano. And I've also found out that my grandfather played the violin.
Oh, okay.
And so my mother had me taking piano lessons when I was in the 4th grade from Mrs. Wade in Youngstown, Ohio. And I would walk 2 blocks to her house. And I took for a year. And then in the 5th grade, starting the 5th grade, she said to me, "Would you love to play the violin too?" And I said, "Oh, yes, of course." So then I started violin in the 5th grade, and I bought my first 3/4 violin and full-size violin from her, and I took for her for a year.
Wow.
And then I moved to Cincinnati, and they had piano lessons at my elementary school in the 5th and 6th grade. And I took from Miss Priggy, and it was class. A few people played on the piano, and the rest of us played on cardboard pianos until it was our turn.
Oh, okay.
And then we had violin at the elementary school, and I took a class violin. And then after the 6th grade in junior high, I studied with someone named Pat Conway. And I studied with her till I was in high school. And she would come to my house to teach me. And then in high school, I took from a concertmaster, Dr. Emil Herman, who was a concertmaster of the Cincinnati Symphony. And I walked to his house because he taught at the Conservatory of Music. But he said he lived so close by, there was no reason for me to ride the bus and pay all that money to the conservatory. And so I just paid him and walked to his house. And then I went to Miami University, and I took violin there from Elizabeth Lane, who later became Elizabeth Walker. And I took from her for 4 years. And then after that, I joined orchestras, several orchestras. And I have played in this one orchestra now for 66 years, and it's called the Butler Phil, and it used to be the Hamilton Symphony, and then the Hamilton Fairfield Symphony, and then it changed its name to the Butler. So I still play professionally 66 years in that orchestra, and I also play in the Southwest Orchestra, which used to be the old Middletown Symphony, and that's what I still do now.
Wow, that's really interesting, like how you transition from one place to another, as well as your journey of violin as well. So could you also share a little bit about your experience of how you learned and practiced this violin in your formative years?
I was a self-motivating child, and I always practiced. I felt it was important to learn, and so we only had one piano, and I had a brother and a sister that played the piano. So I usually came home from school and practiced first, and then they got their turn, but I always got done first.
Okay, that's interesting. And so who do you say was your mentor? Would you say it's your mom and grandmom, or you have other mentors?
I would say my mother was the one that inspired me to do music.
So that's interesting. So apart from just playing violin at home, did you also teach violin?
Yes, but I first taught piano. I wanted a piano, and my husband said they cost too much and you can't have a piano. So I lined up some piano students, and so since I was going to make some money, I started teaching piano, and then I started teaching traditional violin, and then after I had my girls, I remember when I was teaching traditional violin, the mother would play with my oldest daughter while I taught, and finally I decided this is not for me. So I had a full-time job being an elementary teacher. I taught grades 1 through 4, and so I felt I didn't have this need to teach. So when my oldest daughter was a senior, and she played violin also, both my daughters played violin, and when she was a senior, she was thinking about being a violin teacher, and so I got some students, and I taught her senior year in high school how to go about teaching, and so that's how I got involved in teaching violin. And then I got a call from a woman named Connie Rogers at Miami, and she was teaching in the prep department, and she said she was moving and she needed someone to take over the younger children.
Wow.
So that's how I got to teaching in Oxford.
Oh, that's interesting. So you mentioned this traditional violin. So what is a traditional violin?
A Stradivarius violin. They were made by a famous violin maker.
Oh, okay.
And they cost millions of dollars, I guess, the real nice ones.
So are they different from the ones we usually play right now?
There's all sorts of violins. There's cheap violins, which I call a piece of junk. And so you have to be nice to a parent when they acquire a violin and it's a piece of junk. So you have to encourage them. And I usually have my children go to a Baroque violin shop because they're good. You have to have the size violin of the size child. And my youngest child started on a 4th size violin. So, so as you grow, you go up in sizes until you get a full-size violin. So it's instead of acquiring all these violins, it's easier to rent. And if you go to the Baroque violin shop, then it applies to the money you put renting applies towards a full-size violin. Now there's other places that rent. I have one girl that rents from Me House, which is in Hamilton.
Oh, okay, that's interesting to hear. So I see that you are juggling between your passion, your interest, and your personal life and your professional life as well. So how did you manage to balance the two passions, like of your professional life being a teacher in elementary school as well as teaching violin and playing for yourself?
Well, everyone has to have a hobby. And I would say my hobby was going to orchestra. Playing violin in an orchestra. And so I've played in orchestras and Cincinnati and Springfield and Hamilton and around the area. And I used to play a lot of churches and funerals and now and then and festivals and the Pork Festival and and I learned fiddling in my older age, and I used to go to fiddling contests, and I have a few trophies for that.
Wow.
So it's just a love of my life is just playing.
Playing along with the life as well as with the music. That sounds interesting. And you also mentioned your children share your passion for music and they also play the violin and piano. So how did you nurture their interest in music while balancing your own career?
Well, I just felt they should love music like I do, and they should love the violin like I do.
Yep.
So I started my one daughter on a little violin, and I had heard of this Suzuki violin method, which was originated from Dr. Suzuki in Japan. And then I heard that there was going to be, he was coming to Wisconsin, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And so I started my younger daughter when she was 4, and my older daughter was 8. And so we got involved in Suzuki violin through that. And through Suzuki violin, we have traveled all over the world and all over the U.S. at workshops and conferences.
Again, another interesting Suzuki violin. So what is that?
Suzuki violin, it's they call it the mother tongue language that you learn to speak mostly by hearing your mother. And so the idea of the Suzuki violin method is you will listen to recordings and you teach the child how to play the piece before they're old, and you can start them quite young. I usually will start girls at 4 or boys at 5 because boys are not as mature as girls. However, I have taught 4-year-old boys. But you will find that you teach them, they listen to the recording and you teach them how to sound like the recording.
Oh, that's interesting. So Suzuki method is just like a process of listening and doing it before you.
And then when they get older, you teach them how to read the music.
Okay, so later you finish.
And
you give the finishing touch.
traditional violin teachers never liked it when it started, but you find that more people are playing violin because there are a lot of Suzuki players. And when I went to Wisconsin, I had never seen a gymnasium full of violinists as I did there, and I was so pleased. The violin more interest than just band playing in the band.
That's true. Yeah. In our generation, we just listen to our hard rock musics and metal bands and everything, but violin is another level which has a very soothing and calming effect.
Well, the violin is more like your voice too.
Yeah.
It has a beautiful sound.
So I see that music has played such a great part in your family life as well. So has it influenced your relationship with your children? Was there any memories with your children that you went through from your musical journey?
Just traveling the world and meeting people from all over the world, like in Japan, my girls got along with any type of child from any other country because you could play together, but then you sort of had sign languages about talking, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, I've often heard that music connects people even if you don't know the words to speak in their language or something.
So music is an international language.
Yeah, it does. It's a form of art that connects people.
And I remember we were in Germany one time, and we sat down with a Japanese man, and he had his dictionary, his German dictionary. We had our German dictionary, and we were trying to speak in German. Then we met the same man in Japan, and we sort of inferred about how we met in Germany and how we were trying to speak Germany, and now here I was trying to speak Japanese, but not very well.
That must have been a memory. So, can you also share many memorable performances or milestone in your musical career that stands out to you? What made it memorable?
Just playing beautiful music. I don't think anything in particular stood out for me, but I was proud of both my daughters because they were selected their senior years in high school to play with the Dayton Symphony Orchestra, a concerto solo.
Okay, so personally, are you proud of any of your musical achievements?
Just playing the violin is an achievement. And my grandsons also play.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the Musical Arts Family of the Year in 2016. And we had to perform, and we didn't just play violin. We added other instruments like viola and cello and string bass and piano and singing and mandolin and tambourines. We had a very versatile program. We had to perform for the state convention, and we felt elated that all of us could play different types of instruments.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is really some kind of achievement that really some
And
people
we were
do.
selected to be the Musical Arts Family. It wasn't us wanting to do it. We were selected to do this.
Musical Arts Family?
It was through the
Ohio's
Ohio
musical-
Federation of Music Clubs.
Yeah, so you were named Ohio's Musical Family of the Year?
Yes, just Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, no other state.
Yeah, when was that? Which year was that?
2016.
Oh, okay, 2016. Okay, so I'd say congratulations to your family as well, and we'd love to hear you listen to that as well. So, now in the course of time, maybe you have also seen about the landscape. How have you seen the landscape of music education change over the years?
Well, it seems like when budgets of schools is in trouble, it seems like they delete music and art, sometimes gym, and sometimes athletics. And I remember my one daughter was teaching at a Northmont school out around Dayton, and they eliminated everything. And so she went to do something else, and then they called her in August because the community got together and found some money, but by that time she had found something else to do. So I find that they don't feel the importance of art or music like schools should.
So you mean to say that they don't put it as one of the primary things that a child should
Yes,
learn?
I think they, I hate to say it, spend too much time on some academics. But people need a music as a relief when they're in school, that it's something they can enjoy. And music is an enjoyment for your life.
Yeah. So, are there any developments or trends that you have the most significant impact on how you teach? Like, how do your students perceive you as a teacher?
I've always been rather strict. In my older age, I'm not as strict as I used to be. But you learn the life of the child. And I had one child that I had from 1st through the 12th grade, and she would sometimes ask some problems, and you kind of were a second mother sometimes to these children.
Yeah. I bet you were a mother then and mother now, even for your own children.
Once a mother, always a mother.
Yup, that sure is. So, you do use the traditional approach or the Suzuki methods even now while playing the violin yourself or teaching?
I use the Suzuki violin method, and I use fiddling, and I do some fiddling. And I had this one mother said, I don't want my child doing any fiddling. I guess they were thinking they were hillbillies or something. I don't know. But anyhow, I said, well, there's things to learn in fiddling, and we can go to fiddling contests too. And so I encouraged her to have her kids do fiddling, but she didn't want to, but she did.
So you think these two techniques are most beneficial?
And you always think that there's a different instrument. No, a violin can be a fiddle. Now, some pieces that the fiddlers do, you have to retune it. But I make sure that I pick the pieces that we don't have to retune the instrument, because that's annoying.
Ooh. So you also have an eye of a lens of a teacher, and you know which pieces to choose to teach the children.
Yes, I supplement the Suzuki violin method. I will pick other pieces too. Basically, that is like in reading, you follow the book, but you will slip other books in.
So you taught small kids as well, violin?
Oh yes, I taught reading, writing, and arithmetic, and science, and sometimes phys ed, and art, and music. And I did teach in a self-contained classrooms in kindergarten. In 1st grade, they went out for art, music, and gym. But in kindergarten, we had to be self-contained. So I taught everything.
So you enjoyed doing that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I love teaching.
You love being a teacher?
Oh, yes.
And a natural mother?
Oh, I love being a mother.
Yeah, so looking back onto your musical journey, what are some of the key lessons or insights you've gained that you'd like to share with aspiring musicians or young listeners or
Well, I think one thing that you learn when you're learning a musical instrument is discipline. And a lot of children today don't have discipline and structure. I just think that music brings you beauty of the heart.
So it shows your inner beauty as well through music.
Through music.
Yeah. And how has your perspective on music and its importance in society evolved over the years?
I feel it's a world thing. Like I say, when we went to these different conferences, you may not speak the same language, but you can enjoy the same music.
Yeah.
So music is, like I said, an international language.
And it speaks even if you don't know the native language.
Right.
Yep, that surely is. And is there any advice that you would like to give young musicians who are just starting their journey in music or considering a career in the arts?
It's challenging to play a musical instrument, and violin is one of the hardest instruments. Stringed instruments are the hardest. And so I think you just keep them interested. Try to keep them happy playing the violin, and try not to let them quit. There were many times my daughters wanted to quit, but my motivation was taking them to music camps in the summer and meeting all their friends. And it was fun. Then they would say to their friends that they had met the year before, well, what piece are you on now? And, so it was important that they practiced all year. And so they made lifetime friends.
So I see that you made practice a very important element to learn music.
Well, Suzuki said, you practice every day you eat. So if my girls didn't want to practice, I would say, oh, you're not eating today?
Oh.
So if they were sick, I did not make them practice.
Oh, okay. You were a bit lenient for that.
Yeah, if they were sick, they did not practice.
Oh, did they get sick more often?
No, rarely.
Okay. So you also mentioned it's challenging to play a violin. So were there any challenges that you personally felt during your journey? Like you enjoyed it as your passion, your hobby, but still you might have faced some challenges?
Oh, it's challenging to teach children, period. No matter if it's in the elementary school or violin or piano, it's a very challenging thing. And you have to have patience.
Oh, yeah. That's important.
I keep telling my younger daughter, patience.
Younger ones, they sure lack some patience, I guess. So did you also personally feel some challenging things when you were learning to do music?
Some pieces were more challenging than others. And you find that kids just like to play through the piece. And there may be some spots in there that do not sound very good. And so you have to go stressing them the importance of working on those spots that need help. And then play the whole pieces. But you can't just go through the piece once and say that's practice.
Like just not surface, you need to go through in deep.
And if there's some spots that are harder than others, you work on those more. Like I used to say, how old are you? 3. Gotta do it 3. Or say, how old are you? 10. You gotta do it 10 times.
Oh.
So if they know I'm asking them their age, they're in trouble.
They might actually say the wrong age.
Well, Dr. Suzuki said 1,000 times.
Okay. So how about during your times, I'm sure there were lesser opportunities to learn music and there were not much places to go and learn music. So how do you see that transition now that we have other places and opportunities?
Okay, when I was young, there was a Phil Spatani's all-girl orchestra. And my goal when I got out of high school was to join this all-girl orchestra. but it dissolved.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no place for a woman to play in an orchestra that was professional.
Oh, okay.
The Cincinnati Symphony had all men, except the harpists, because they couldn't find a man. So I knew there was no hope to play in a professional orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents encouraged me to go to college and learn elementary education, which I never regretted. So I have a bachelor's and a master's in education from Miami University.
And you're proud of that?
Yes. And my mother and my sister and my 2 daughters have gone to Miami.
Oh, that's interesting. A full legacy.
3 generations.
That's what we need to hear. And how about I heard that you still play in orchestras nowadays.
Yes.
So how do you find the difference? Like the way you used to play before and now with your children?
Oh, I don't play as well. I used to play like assistant concertmaster or first violin, and now I play second violin. And that's okay with me because then I don't have to practice as hard, but I still practice. But when you get older, it's like athletics, you're not as great.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not as great as I used to be. We play in orchestras together, and that's my fun.
Oh, you enjoy that?
Yes.
Okay, so how can younger generations like us preserve and continue to appreciate classical music traditions while embracing contemporary influences? Any suggestions?
Well, I know I took classical piano and I wanted to learn pop, and she said, well, you have the ability to learn that on your own.
Oh, so you need a classical base.
Yes.
And you can learn anything.
Yeah. And I mean, there's jazz violin, which is not easy to play. Yeah. And fiddling, which is... And if you ask a fiddler to teach you, he usually can't because he never plays the same tune the same way twice.
Oh, really? That's a difference.
They're not good teachers. They're just players.
Fiddlers.
A lot of fiddlers.
So
they learn it in the hills of Kentucky.
Okay, so how do you feel now that you're embracing your old age journey, and do you often meet other people like older adults who connect through music?
Yes.
Yes? How do you feel about that?
Well, one time I taught an older lady and she just loved playing, and we just play duets together, and it's just fun to get with somebody and play together.
And how about younger generation? Do you meet people who are playing and connecting through music with you as well?
Well, sometimes I'll play duets with them, and sometimes I'll play with them.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well, they learn through hearing.
The Suzuki method.
Yeah.
So any last piece of advice or suggestions for the younger generations?
Well, my girls always said, we don't have much time to play sports. I said, I'm sorry, but I said, you can play music all your life. You cannot play sports all your life.
Wow, a valid point. Music is a skill
that you can have all your life. On sports, you become a spectator as you get older. But your body gives out on you in sports. It doesn't give out on you in music.
Yeah, that's so true. So thank you so much, Lucy. This was really enriching and very inspiring as well. So thank you so much. We have reached the end of this enlightening episode, and I want to express my deepest gratitude to our guest, Lucy. Your life story is a testament to resilience and inspiration and constant motivation. So thank you for sharing with us today. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Stories of a Lifetime, timeless tales, endless inspiration. We hope Lucy's experiences have resonated with you and provided valuable insights. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please leave a review and spread the word. Until next time, this is Lirisha Tuladhar reminding you to cherish the wisdom of our elders and find inspiration in their stories. Thank you and take care.